House Coulthart and Garry Nolan and others like Danny Sheehan are chiming in on the fate of UFO disclosure in the Schumer-Rounds Amendment. So let's listen to what they have to say and do a little breakdown. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, let's just get right to it. I love the Good Trouble show, and recently he had Garry Nolan on to talk about many things. A great interview. I highly recommend checking out the full thing. But here is the pertinent part in terms of what's going on with the Schumer-Rounds Amendment and what happened.
What they think they're hiding anymore.
I don't understand either.
We'll get to it, of course, but of course the U.A.P. amendment looks like good portions of it will be stripped down by the Republican leadership. And I don't think it's a GOP problem. I think it's just that they were the ones who had the levers of power that the lobbyists used to basically bring the amendment to a screeching halt. But I mean that anybody could look at this who's a skeptic and argue all they want about fuzzy videos, but now look at this and say, well, why would lobbyists for the major aerospace corporations bring major pressure to bear such that Mitch McConnell went to Schumer and said, it's over, it's out. And that
he did.
That's the word on the street.
Wow.
Right. And that's not by any secret knowledge. That's just the word on the street already. And that you have the head of the House Intelligence Community or group and the head of the Armed Services Republican side basically squash it. If it's something that doesn't exist, why do you spend so much time trying to make sure that people continue to think it doesn't exist?
Great question, Gary. Great question. Now, as to why Chuck Schumer could be persuaded by Mitch McConnell to kill the U.A.P. amendment or cripple it, there is this to consider. I don't know if Chuck has been compromised or not by the UFO control group, but did you know that he has a microchip company? That's right, he's got a microchip company, and they just partnered with Lockheed Martin. Chuck Schumer announces a major new partnership between Global Foundries, his company, and Lockheed Martin to secure America's defense semiconductor supply chain. Spurred by his Chips and Science Act, Senator says made in New York chips will now bolster national security, keeping the country safe, ensuring upstate New York continues to lead the microchip industry. And I will link to the article on his own or on schumer.senate.gov, the page. So, you can read it at your leisure. But there you go. Chuck Schumer has strong financial ties to Lockheed Martin. And of course, as we all know, Mike Rogers received more money from the defense sector than any other member of Congress during the 2022 election cycle, according to Open Secrets data. 1/3 of the $13.7 million the defense sector contributed to the U.S. House members during the midterms went to members of the 118th House Armed Services Committee. Shocking, right? Getting back to Garry Nolan, he also had this to say recently. People need to take this rejection and turn it into a motivation to figure it out how they can continue to push it. I don't think what the people behind the scenes realize is that the frustration that's boiling over, even from people on the inside, is just going to cause a form of disclosure that is uncontrolled. Now, personally, I don't mind the idea of an uncontrolled disclosure. Just give us the information, tell us what the hell's going on without all the gatekeeping. The ultimate truth of all of this, whatever is known to the UFO control group, does not seem to have driven the UFO control group insane. They are not running amok, screaming in the street. So human beings are capable of processing the truth. So why be the arbiters of what the general populace can understand or take? Just reveal it, guys. Just reveal it. Of course, that's going to be really, really hard. There's so many different factors and ramifications, and Garry Nolan is addressing that in this next section. What went wrong? Let's have a forensics of what went wrong and what went what went right and what went wrong. Let's get intel on who was going to be most hurt by disclosure, not to counter them, but to address their concerns. And I think that is very intriguing. If Lockheed Martin, for example, doesn't want eminent domain exerted over their UFO or UFOs, should their concerns be addressed? I think that is an interesting question, and it may be the only way forward. But, once you start making accommodations for the UFO control group, not wanting to pony up with the evidence, where is it going to stop, right? So I really don't think we should make accommodations for them. However, I do acknowledge that we may not get any form of UFO Disclosure Act without that, potentially. But that really rubs me the wrong way. But Garry Nolan goes on to say, if there are concerns about disclosure, let's find out what they are and how they should be addressed. That needs to be argued in the literature with backed up referencing and good arguments and reasoning, not on Twitter. Publishing doesn't make it right, but it allows ideas and thought processes to be put in the record so they don't have to be rediscovered. Let's say we don't get it done in this generation. Maybe the next generation will have it, and they won't have to rediscover the arguments. So that is really a disconcerting thought, that this could have been put off for an entire generation. So I hope, Garry is just being figurative here, and he's not actually thinking that it will take another generation to get another UFO Disclosure Act this close to the brink. So let's see what Ross Coulthart has to say.
I wonder if it's bad blood inside the Congress and whether this is a Republican get-square. I can tell you there are good people on the Republican side, notably Senator Marco Rubio, who's really stuck his neck out in support of U.A.P. transparency and said that there are things that we can't explain in our skies, in the orbit and underwater, that do require investigation. And quite laudably, he's led an effort as a bipartisan move with Democrat politicians to basically support transparency. But now we see quite an obvious and frankly quite appalling effort by some key Republican politicians to seemingly bow to the behest of the defense aerospace industry and to essentially try to cover up what David Grush and others are determined to reveal.
Now, that's a really interesting idea, that it could be a death swear in revenge for Matt Gaetz and others ousting the Speaker of the House. And it could be some sort of payback. I don't think that's what's going on. I think that his later comments are more accurate, and that it's the defense sector, the UFO control group, that is exerting pressure on these key people because, as Garry Nolan says, they are the ones that have the lever of power that could kill the Schumer-Rounds Amendment or neuter it. So whatever's going on, it is going on, and we have to deal with it and face the reality that we may need a plan B. However, some are saying there is no plan B. It's just a continuation of plan A. I believe that is also a quote from Garry Nolan. Danny Sheehan just wrote a great article summarizing and encapsulating all of this and adding some new details. I'm not going to read the whole article, but just a couple of pertinent parts here. With Wright-Patterson Air Force Base situated in Mike Turner's district, as well as several aerospace and defense contractors alleged to have contributed to crash retrieval and reverse engineering initiatives, including Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and Lockheed Martin, the question on voters' minds in Ohio's 10th congressional district is, where will Representative Turner stand? According to campaign finance watchdog Open Secrets, defense aerospace companies have contributed more than $620,000 to Turner's campaign accounts over the years, including $183,000 from Lockheed Martin, $79,400 from Northrop Grumman, and another $77,000 from Boeing. We've already talked about Mike Rogers. New House Speaker Mike Johnson previously supported legislation to increase transparency over agents working to influence American policy on behalf of foreign principals in a bill to further increase transparency by allowing the public to better track audits of the federal grant recipients. All the while, the defense industry contributed nearly $130,000 to Johnson's campaign coffers. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell voted in favor of the NDAA containing the UAPDA amendment. Senators McConnell's campaign war chest have been filled with defense industry largesse for years, totaling more than $1.1 million. According to press reports, all four influential leaders, McConnell, Johnson, Rogers, and Turner, are poised to kill or substantially weaken the UAPDA. Voters in Alabama, Kentucky, Louisiana, Ohio, and elsewhere should be demanding their elected officials do the right thing rather than do the bidding of their defense contractor benefactors. The time for excuses, opaqueness, and cover-ups is over. Yeah, you tell them, Danny Sheehan. So that's what people are saying about the fate of the Schumer-Rounds Amendment. And, where we stand today and what's going on and how much influence the defense contractors, the aerospace companies, the UFO control group has on these guys. But it's just so blatant, right? I mean, why kill it if there's nothing there, right? Why try to put out the flames if there's no smoke? So, it's time for the American people to speak out against this and let them know that we won't tolerate this and that it is very clear and very obvious that they are trying to hide the truth. So anyway, but that's just my take on it, guys. Let me know your take in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media, Facebook and Twitter links below. If you wanted to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, please consider grabbing a t-shirt or a coffee mug, see the merch store below, or by becoming a channel member, because channel members are rock stars. And I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you. Meanwhile, there are plenty of other videos to check out on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.